So if you want to get into the algorithm, you got to know what's trending. So we're being programmed by the daily trends. The daily trends are directing us what to think about, and we're being programmed by this in overt and or subtly undermining ways. If you have an algorithm established for yourself, it's like a codependent mom that has a fat kid, and they're like, oh, I just feed him, he likes to eat, and I feed him, and they're like, you're an enabler. So having a personal algorithm is an enabler to you, and that's why YouTube can't suggest me cool videos, because I surf YouTube without being signed in, and when I'm signed in, I'm uploading. That's why I clip grab. I clip grab stuff not signed into YouTube so that they don't know anything about me. Every time I sign into YouTube, it's a blank screen and it says, maybe you'd like to watch something, so we could suggest videos you might like. Something to that effect. And I don't do it. So I clip grab stuff to watch while I upload, or listen to really, while I upload videos. Because I don't want to get programmed and I hate cell phones. I was trying to think of when I started hating cell phones, and when I had a Nextel. Do you remember Nextels? They're like construction site phones that were made so that you could be at the beck and call of your boss and then get pissed off and throw your phone and it wouldn't break. You could really, I tried to. I would get pissed off and I would throw the Nextel. Now, I'm not somebody that goes around throwing and breaking stuff, but I hated the phone because I'd be in a supermarket and everybody can hear it. And it's either the secretary or the boss or somebody Nextelling you about work shit. And you're like, I'm not at work now. So I'd have to have it turned off. And that was the beginning of me hating cell phones. Then I had it turned off at work. And it's an intrusion. But I want to go back to algorithms and programming people. I remember in the 1990s when people stopped watching the news. And the reason they stopped watching the news was because all the commercials for the news, which everybody saw because nobody was online like they are now, and cell phones were way different. I don't even remember what a cell phone was like in the 1990s because I didn't have one. The first cell phone I had, my work gave me, and it was the Nextel. It was a black and yellow Nextel. It looked like it came from a construction site. And but in the 1990s, they started C-SPAN, which was like 24-hour news channel. And some people got addicted to it, and it made them stressed out because you were seeing stuff from all over the world like we had never seen before. And the news came from the TV news, but now there was C-SPAN. And it was the beginning of people, like, it was like stressing you out. Like if you watch C-SPAN all the time, you could make a problem for yourself. But people stopped watching the news because every commercial for the news was the shocking story that you have to see to believe, or you have to watch the news tonight because if you don't, you're going to miss out on this alarming story, and it's the information you need to know. And then you watch it and all is well, and there's crickets chirping and all that, and the world is fine. But the news knew that to get ratings, this is before the internet, before you had the weather on your phone. People had to watch the news. They wanted to find out what was going on in the world. So you picked your favorite news channel or your local news channel or both, and they knew that to get the ratings that they would have to get your attention. So if they gave you a negative, alarming story preview, then maybe you'll watch the news, so you want to find out the negative things so that you can defend yourself against whatever the latest threat was. And it just pissed people off. So in the 90s, that's when I started hearing people say, I don't watch the news. But they didn't say why. Or like, I just check in for the weather and I turn it off. I don't want to hear that shit. And it was because the commercials for the news were, the news is where people got, the TV was where people got their news. I just want to reiterate that to give, context to what I'm talking about. So people got desensitized to the news. They weren't saying fake news in the 1990s. It was like a new thing that it was like, you have to see this alarming story. And, they'd have the meter, rhythm, and tone of the newscaster was like, oh, maybe I better see. And then, you know, you watch it and you're like, oh, food recall? I don't eat lettuce. I don't need that. So, or whatever, the stupid shit that it didn't matter. But now, like, we have alerts. When we had 2001, there was the Amber Alerts and the threat levels and stuff. So now everybody's online, and even old people are online and are on their phones, and they do Facebook and they talk to their phones, and they want everybody online. I said this before, like I remember being in a parking lot, a mart at a Walden's, and somebody was putting flyers on windshields. Hey, are you on welfare? We'll give you a free phone, and we'll give every member of your family a free phone. And get on welfare. They were advertising for welfare in the parking lot of Walmart. So, and that was like a long time ago. It was like 2010 or whatever. I don't even remember. But I could see the progression of our degradation and making us afraid. Like in 2020, they got the whole world to stay home, and it's like, stay home, stay online, be informed. And now we have daily trending topics. So everybody wants to make content. I remember when the Jersey Shore was a new TV show. It was the end of music television for TV and the beginning of reality TV. And there was Survivor. Again, making you think, well, maybe I should think about survival. And all this reality TV show. Big Brother locking people in a house together. Celebrity Celebrity lock them up in a house and have cameras on them all the time. Then the Kardashians came in. So when the Jersey Shore was a new thing, I remember teachers saying, the kids want to be the Jersey Shore, and that's not a career, that's not a job you can do. But the kids were really impressed by the Jersey Shore, the teenagers. And I have a millennial, and he was impressed upon by the Jersey Shore, and him and all his friends and the girls and everything, they watched the Jersey Shore. And that's not a career. And it wasn't about streaming. It was a reality show where they had a mic job, and then at night they did tanning, and then they went out and they got drunk and they went to the clubs and smashed. That's what they say for sex now, right? They were smashing each other. And go to the gym and be a mess, and then record it all. So that's not good. And it was a thing that teenagers wanted to emulate. So look at us now. We have kids that graduated from a virtual graduation. You know, like they have a graduation live stream is what I meant to say. That's sad. I know a whole family that's traumatized, and they live like shut-ins, because any minute now the world's gonna end. I know it's getting rougher out there, and they're trying to like push in a new age of barbarism, or whatever you want to call it. I guess that would be a pretty apt description. In the future, you'll have nothing and you'll love it. You will eat the bugs. Did they do the welfare reform thing that Trump tried to do it was like one of the first things he did when he got into the office the first time, when he went up against Hillary? They tried to do this welfare reform where it was just food in a box in the mail, and the welfare moms, like I remember seeing videos on this where the moms were like, look at this, and they've given them like a limited amount of options for what you could get from welfare, and like, I don't want that, I just want my EBT and go shopping. Now they have like the EBT reform. We're being programmed how to think, and when they told us to stay home, stay away from each other, and stay on your phone, and have Amazon bring you everything, and have Grubhub and all these food services and the Ubers, and it destroyed retail and restaurants. I mean, well, you know, COVID helped destroy restaurants. But this is, you know, this is how we get to what they call post-consumer society that you've probably heard about. Like I remember in Barnes and Nobles, they had, and forgive me if you've heard me talk about these things before, but I'm putting something together for you. They had a genre in Barnes and Nobles and Borders books when that existed. Are you alive long enough to remember Borders books? You would have to be. They had a genre called teen dystopian sci-fi, and then along with that was the teen vampire stuff, and then there's the teen, I don't know what they called it, but it was like Harry Potter stuff and teen fantasy wizards and stuff like that, and Lemony Snicket's and Fortunate Events, and so what are we getting from this? Do witchcraft, that's Harry Potter, which hasn't, gone away. They're making a streaming series. Vampires, that never goes away. Twilight made vampire teen fiction a section. And Twilight came from a fan fiction of 50 Shades of Grey, which is a horny book talk book before they had book talk. And then teen dystopian sci-fi is, hey, what's your future going to be like? Be a witch, do witch talks, be horny, marry a vampire. They have money. The werewolves don't have money. That's why Bella, what do you want to do after high school, Bella? You want to be a werewolf? You want to be a vampire? The vampires have all the money and the good looks, and I don't want to roll. You want to roll around with the dogs? You want to be an elite? I think I'll marry a vampire. So that's my high value man. He just drinks my blood and he lives off of my soul or whatever. They don't have souls, the vampires. I married a narcissist. His name was Edward Vampire Man or whatever his name was. Team Edward. And then teen dystopian sci-fi, which is Hunger Games, The Maze Runner, The 100, and any other teen dystopian sci-fi novels that were turned into movies or TV shows that you may have heard of. Oh, Divergent, that's another one. Ender's Game. So that's molding and shaping our future. But it took time. We got the news alarming us with shocking articles. People said I'm not watching the news, which also gets people not to watch the news. The C-SPAN, people would get C-SPAN addiction. They'd watch. Did I mention C-SPAN yet? People would get, C-SPAN was a new thing in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. And it was just like a news channel where you get news from all over the world. And people would get unhealthy from watching too much C-SPAN. They were like traumatizing themselves with C-SPAN. This is before the internet. So now we're traumatized with the internet, and we get the daily trending topics, and everybody wants to make content, which is why I talked about Jersey Shore. And and they call it daily slop tent, and they have AI making slop. It's really frustrating when I do image searches for thumbnails. This AI shit has dominated. I feel as though when I'm doing an image search for anything, AI is making, maybe it's a little paranoid, but I feel as though when I search something in an image search, the AI is just generating images to dominate, so that none of the images we get are like actual photographs that have like film grain on them because it's from a movie or something. They just have like the AI version of it. You should have seen the weird AI pictures they made. I did a video on the Dark Crystal. So I just wanted stills from the movie so I could talk about Skexreal and the Tiny Hat Skeksis and all this stuff. And there was these AI generated pictures of puppets, and the AI did not know how to make a puppet because the puppets have these dead, lifeless eyes. So the AI generated Dark Crystal characters that people didn't generate. The AI just generated Dark Crystal characters, and they had these creepiest, cold, dead, lifeless eyes. And I was like, wow, this is what AI... This is one of the things that led me to think that AI is just generating stuff predicated on your search. You're searching for something, and if it's an image, then AI is just making images to throw in the mix. It's really frustrating. I want clip art of a woman on her phone making a stupid face, whatever I need. A surprised woman on her cell phone with her hand over her mouth, and then AI is generating images. It's weird. Like you can, like whatever you search, you're gonna find AI generated. It all reminds me of airbrush art. The AI stuff reminds me of airbrush art. I wanted my thumbnails to be like something of the world. I I wouldn't say I have a nostalgia for photographs or movie stills as thumbnails, because that would be a form of mental derangement. But I want to use stuff from the world, even if it has that dreamy film-like quality where they, you know what I mean? Like, look at my thumbnails. I don't want to airbrush, unless I'm doing airbrush painting as a thumbnail for a reason. I want pictures or a drawing or something. I don't want AI generated anything. It all looks the same to me. It all looks like airbrush art. And if you're looking for something creepy, then you're really gonna, that's what AI's art is good at. They're really good at making creepy looking things, disturbing imagery, because demons are the bots that are the getters that go out and collate all this, the collage stuff that they put together to make your AI art. So I think they want to erase our real world and just give us this illusory world and get rid of photographs and everything real, so that they can rewrite the future and say, oh, it's all AI generated airbrush style art. They won't call it that, but you know what I mean? Like, this is part of destroying the past and killing it, is erasing it and having AI constantly generating shit, because it really is getting weird. I mean, when's the last time you looked up an image? Look at how much AI stuff, and some of it's really sophisticated. I think I did recently use an AI generated thumbnail of people, of cell phone zombies. It's for a video where the thumbnail says phone junkies, and I'm like, this is AI generated. Where are all the people holding their cell phones that were photographs that have all of me on them or whatever? That's the other thing. AI generated imagery and all of me claiming everything that's actually a photograph, like even movie stills. Like, where the hell does all of me, like, how do they get off this, like, claiming everything and putting their logo all over every picture? You know how many YouTube videos I see where people are like, I don't care, and they just use the all of me or Shutterstock image and they just put it in the video and it says Shutterstock right across the whole photo. I'm like, yeah, who cares? But I try to find images that never have that stuff in, or if there is some kind of watermark and I want to use it anyway, then I always find a way to get rid of it. Isn't that what the free transform tool or whatever it is that you could use to get rid of that stuff in whatever? So they're programming us with the daily trending, and they're also, like, if you're watching content, like if you're watching videos, it's everybody pretty much sees daily slop, whether you realize you're seeing it or not. I mean, there's some stuff you say, I don't watch that, I don't care about the daily slop of, like, did you see what this YouTuber did? Man, there's so many people making videos that are getting locked up for it. Like, there's probably a couple of channels where they're like, hey, here's another person who's a jerk that goes out in public with their phone and they got arrested. Like, people can put their channels, can predicate their channels on content makers' arrests. So Jersey Shore had an influence on kids as a reality show, and now they don't call them Hollywood celebrities or YouTubers. They call them, well, I mean, they do call them YouTubers, but they call them influencers. So it's like transparent, like saying, here's the people that have an influence over your lives. And if you look at who the top influencers are, they're jerks. And they don't age well. An early influencer was a guy like Logan Paul, and what he has done does not age well. It's just like, if you were influenced by Logan Paul when you were a young person, you liked him, you thought he was a really cool guy. When you grow up, you're gonna hate him, and he's got all the money now, so he's like, yeah, who cares? Because he's got all the money and he's trying to sell Lunchables or whatever that shit was. Yeah, like the audience grows up, and then they're gonna hate a guy like that. But people, Andy Warhol coined the phrase, I think, 15 minutes of fame. He said in the future everyone will have 15 minutes of fame, and he worked for a 3-letter organization. Did you know that? Yeah, Andy Warhol was hired by the CIA to change the trend of things in art. That's a 1960s art trend. When he's doing like just making garbage art and anything can be art, that was an op to destroy art. There's part of a deliberate, willful concert effort that's well over 100 years old in destroying society. That this 1960s counterculture revolution where they told you to take drugs and don't trust anyone over 30. You know what the counterculture revolution means? It means contrary to the culture. The culture in America post World War II was having a family, and you know, the American dream was possible. Come from, be an immigrant from another country and come to America, the melting pot, and maybe you can make a way for yourself and have a family and a business. I was going to say home-based business. No, that's today. You can have a family and a home and a house, and that's the American dream. And you know, be fruitful and multiply. Now by design, they've made it so that both members of the family have to work just to get by, and that's to divide the family. That is also part of the counterculture revolution. So they wanted to program young people. They said, drop out, tune in, and turn on. That's part of the slogan from the 60s of the hippie culture. Take drugs, do Aleister Crowley's systematic derangement of the senses. Take the drugs they made in the lab to ruin you, you know, the kids of the 60s. Timothy Leary, I'll never forget it, the one interview I saw where he looks into the camera and he goes, everything that he does for Lucifer. And he said it, he looked right into the camera and he said, he was telling everybody watching, hey, I'm Timothy Leary, counterculture drug guy. I'm trying to destroy your culture. Aleister Crowley has a poem called The Family, Enemy Number One. So the counterculture revolution of peace and love and Woodstock in the 1960s, hey, peace. It was about destroying the family unit. And then, you know, and drugs was part of that. And then you have the crack coming in, and you have methamphetamines and crystal meth, and then you have bath salts, that's meth, and fentanyl. And in the 90s also came in all these prescription drugs. And I remember the posters because I went to school for advertising, and I noticed the theme when you go to a doctor's office or in magazines. All the prescription drugs had these neon, like near neon pastel colors. It's all the kind of colors that people have now to be like all vaporwave and all that shit. It's the colors that the pharmaceuticals were using to advertise their drugs, no matter what it was these, like, I want to call them neon pastels of the rainbow. And it's like 1960s blacklight poster, headshot posters where people would put up a black light and these neon posters, and then they would take drugs and they'd sit and go duh in front of the posters. Well, look at the aesthetics they have now for, like, I'm gonna call it like all the, like the drug colors. It's like be high and watch all the trippy colors and stuff like that. I know that there's also an aesthetic out there that everything should be black and gray. They call it the beiging. Not Beijing, China, but like making everything beige and dulling the colors and taking away the bright colors. Well, on the other side of that is the colors that, like, do you ever get high and it's bright colors and stuff? Hey, let's watch Major Laser cartoons and get high and Spencer's Gifts and all this stuff. It's the color schemes. I'm sorry if I'm not articulating this properly. Vaporwave, I would explain it. The synthwave aesthetic, where you see there's those the free clip art that everybody was using, where it's like a car driving through, you know, like all that vaporwave shit, and it's all neon and retro 80s neon stuff and palm trees, and looks like Tron and shit. So yeah, I mean, the drug posters from the pharmaceutical companies were like posters for getting high. I just don't know how else to say it. And they'd be in a doctor's office. And you can go look at old drug posters from the 1990s and you'll see what I mean. It was an aesthetic. It's not unlike the colors here. It's not unlike the blue LED aesthetic that are in a lot of people's backgrounds where they have the LED lights. That's how the drug posters were in the 1990s, except they just weren't as vibrant because magazines didn't print like neons didn't print properly. So they got as bright as they could because they wanted, you know, like people were depressed, like Zoloft and all this stuff that came out. Now I have people addicted to prescription drugs and Xanax and stuff. I know somebody that destroyed their life on Xanax. And we didn't know it was happening to him, like me and his, like other people in his life. And like, what's wrong with him? Because I'm too old to know about that stuff. And then we found he kept having seizures and shit. And like, he's so young, why is he having seizures? And it's because of Xanax. And he was like robbing people, and he looked like he'd be so high it looked like a noodle that somebody was holding up by, you know, like between their fingers. Like that was his posture. He was just like wasn't even there. He wasted away. And it was like $500 to $600 a bar, or half a bar, or whatever. I'm like, whoa, like no wonder, you know. And he went to jail and everything. It's heartbreaking. And he had kids. And I think she was messed up on drugs too. And yeah, it's not good. They were living in a hotel, probably because of his drug addiction, with a family. And I could tell other stories about people messed up their lives with drugs. But, you know, we're being programmed. And I guess where I'm going now with this is, I can remember I used to travel a lot. And my only experience with Orthodox tiny hat people would be at the airports. And I would see how these people were backwards and inbred in a lot of cases. So they had this whole sheltered world that they lived in. So when they were in the airport, you'd see them all clustered together because the whole rest of the world is like, they're dogs, they're not even humans to everybody else. And you could see that even the kids had like this visible scowl of contempt. It reminded me of Dick Cheney. Did you ever see Dick Cheney, the way he's talking? He has this scowl of contempt on his face because he hates humanity and everything, and he doesn't have a heart. He has this thing that pumps blood. But there was like this visible scowl of contempt that you can't hide. Maybe you've done it. Do you ever really have contempt where you're just disgusted and you can't help but have that thing look on your face? It's involuntary. And that's what I would see at the airports when you see the Orthodox tiny hat people and the kids, and they're all dressed in black and they look inbred, and they're out of touch and they're sheltered. And I saw the same thing one time. I went to an Amish store, and there was swarthy-skinned Middle Eastern Muslim woman, and she went into the Amish store, and it was being run by a child, like a 14-year-old kid, and because it was like on a farm, and she was there to buy stuff from the farm, and he couldn't keep that scowl of contempt. He was just disgusted to see this woman because she had this brown skin, and he was like probably inbred Amish kid, and he had this stupid bowl haircut. This is before they had Amish reality TV shows. These like they were really Amish, and it kind of looked funky. Sorry, it's like inbreeding or something. And it reminded me, there was the same scowl of contempt I saw from the Orthodox tiny hat people. Well, they did that to all of us by making us stay home. I mean, maybe it didn't take for you or me. I don't know you. But we're shell-shocked. We're shell-shocked from being told to stay home and stay online. And now our lives are changed. And we're being programmed not by the TV news, not by C-SPAN, but by an algorithm that's made just for us. And by trending. So here's the things. It reminds me of the movie Labyrinth. Did you ever see the Jim Henson movie Labyrinth? There's a scene in the movie that's appropriate. There's a goblin lady, and she's trying to trick Jennifer Connelly to stay in her bedroom. And the old lady's just like, oh, here's your doll. You need this, don't you? Here's this. And she's giving her all these childhood things, but Jennifer Connelly's turning into a woman. So this old lady's trying to weigh her down with nostalgia and all the things from her teenage girl bedroom to keep her inside the labyrinth, to trap her. And she's like, wait a minute, this is all shit. And she's like, I don't want any of this stuff. So they're trying to turn her into a garbage woman and keep her living in a room filled with things like a Japanese shut-in, like a Hikikomori, because Japan has a shut-in epidemic. You see me, if you're a subscriber, you know that I talk about Japan a lot. So I'll bring them into this one again, because Japan's ahead of the world, 20 years ahead in technology, they've been saying for a long time. Whether that's true or not, it doesn't matter. But they are 20 years ahead at least in being 20 years ahead of the world in being socially engineered, because they have a negative population rate, and they're only now just coming around to that they don't like tourists, because the tourists can go over to Japan and make videos and be rude. Alright? So they're putting up signs in the subway, hey soul brother, this isn't a circus, no hip-hop dancing on the subways, because black guys are going over there and making obnoxious videos, and everybody's supposed to be quiet on the subway, and it's a place where women go to get groped and sexually assaulted, and you're quiet. So you know what I mean. So Japan's 20 years ahead. They have negative population rate. They're not making any more Japanese people. They exported anime, which I blame for a lot of our problems. And look at all the trouble of people making their own deviant art, anime related stuff and all, you know what I mean, all the weeaboo stuff. And look at what the Japanese, you know, that's a whole nation of people that have Lolita complex, and the women too, and they're programmed, and they also get programmed by their phones too, so they're still, you know, at least 20 years ahead of us. And there's an epidemic of workaholism they had over there called Karoshi syndrome, where people will work so hard they drop dead on the job, and they avoid their families, and they don't tell each other they love each other. And the Japanese will tell you, yeah, we don't really tell each other that we love each other. If you know somebody that married a Jap, that a Westerner has to warm them up to, like, no, we're supposed to tell each other we love each other. And they're like, yeah, we don't do that, we're Japanese. So they're programmed. And that's how they want us to be. So when everybody says, oh, it's cool, I want to go to Japan, or they, you know, fetishize Japanese people, or the people more repressed than the Japanese people, the Koreans, because the Japs are the ones that repressed the Koreans. So they're even more programmed. So now, what do Koreans do? They're programmed, and it's like the plastic surgery capital of the world. People from all over the world go to get plastic surgery to look more Korean. And the Koreans are encouraged by their parents as graduation gifts, if they can afford it, to get plastic surgery to change their eyes so that they look more Western, even though they lie and say it's not about looking Western, we just want to be successful at business. So, you know, get plastic surgery. That's being programmed. Hey, whatever you are is not good enough. Maybe you should get plastic surgery to look like somebody else, you know, as a graduation gift when you're leaving high school, so you'll be successful in the business world. That's heartbreaking. And I blame Japan for doing that to the Koreans, the cool Koreans that everybody wants to be like now. Do you ever see how crazy the K-pop people are? Like there's the kids that love their Korean celebrities. I'm too old for this, but I know about that. They can be very, you know, they'll attack people. Don't make fun of our BTK killer band, and it's like little gay, paper thin, LGBTQ Korean boy band. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know who's popular now, but everybody's like, oh, I wish I was like that little Korean bitch. You know, it's like some willowy little. It looks like a teenage girl without tits, and she's 30. That's Korea. Yeah. It's what it's what the Japs did to the Koreans. So, it's not good. Did you ever hear about Unit 731? Did I say it right? Is that the right number unit? The horrible crimes of Unit 731. The whole phenomenon in Japan of the host boys and the fuzokus. The fuzokus are the prostitutes, and the host boys are, well, they're kind of like prostitutes. It's like the illusion of love. Do you ever see those things where you can lay down on a mat and just have a cuddle time with somebody? You pay for it in Japan. A maid cafe. They love cats over there. And, you know, everybody's, let's go to Japan. They're phasing themselves out. They're going to have to, like, put, like, some other race of Asian people in there to fill up the set dressing of Japan when all that's left is the buildings, because all the Japanese people died because they didn't have kids. I don't blame them for not having kids. Look at the stuff that they watch on TV and the Japanese pornography. They know that they shouldn't have kids with the stuff that they masturbate to. It's not even real. It's cartoons. And all the cartoons look like little girls or, you know, little boys, and they're all getting railed by wolves and horses and dragons and shit and whatever. So, yeah, we're being programmed. And the daily trending topics are shaping what they want us to think about and how they want us to think about it. So it's like BlackRock, Larry Fink said, it doesn't matter what they want, just keep giving them the same thing over and over again, because we're trying to program the young people so that they will be, it's inundation is the word. We're being inundated with, it doesn't matter what you want. You can make videos and fight about it. Those aren't going to be in the algorithm. If there's any outrage, and invariably there will be outrage in the trending and daily algorithm stuff, but it's the way that they want it. And you can see how people really are. You live in the world and they're fighting it and stuff, and everybody's complaining. You know, like a lot of people are making money, maybe it's a side gig or maybe it's full time, by complaining about movies. I've heard it said, I heard Nerdronic, and he said, keep making shitty movies, I'm raking it in. He's got like 1 million, however many million subscribers. And all he does is complain about movies. Or you can be one of the people that is like a shill and they don't complain about movies. They love everything. Hi, I'm mental illness Grace at Grace's Reviews, and I'm on meds, because that woman's crazy. And and she just, I love it. I love it, frankly. Whatever they love, whatever they give me more. Whatever it is that they make, I love it. And then there's the daily slop, which is just complaining and shitting on anything. Hey, guess what so-and-so did today? Do you believe this? Do you believe that? And every day there's something. Look at Anissa and iDubbbz. Their career's over. Okay, their career's over and they lost everything. And like, yeah, but we're just going to keep telling. Now they live in a garbage can. Why do I know about this shit? You know how old I am? Well, actually, I do know about iDubbbz because that's because of Kickstarter crap. I told somebody, I said, hey, I found this really cool thing. It's called Kickstarter TV. And he said, you mean iDubbbz? And I said, what's that? Like dubstep? And I thought dubstep wasn't music. I thought it had something to do with cars and dubs. I don't know what cars and dubs means. But it's something, right? Now I know what dubstep is. And he said, no, iDubbbz, you said Kickstarter crap, right? And I said, no, well, maybe Kickstarter TV. So I showed him Kickstarter TV, and he showed me iDubbbz, which was Kickstarter crap. And we both agreed that Sam Hyde and Kickstarter TV was funnier and meaner. And so that's daily. Kino Casino and Pod Awful, just like making their money, humiliating people who are humiliating themselves, laughing at the lol cows. That's okay. Waste your life doing that. So it's been a while since I checked in on cringe compilations. So I grabbed a bunch of like recent cringe compilation stuff, and I realized that I was out of touch, and that it was a good thing, and that I needed to lighten up, because I had become one of those Christians that was like finger wagging and too uptight even with my own self, and too critical and judgmental of myself. And I think God wanted me to lighten up. So anything that I think is good, I can thank God for it. So thank God that God told me to lighten up a little bit because I'd been wound too tight. And the proof of that was going back of my videos from 2024, which I deleted. And I think now, I wasn't sure why I did that or why I wanted to, like, you know, offer them up to God and say, God, I'm making a burnt offering. I'm deleting my old videos. I think I was wound too tight. And how I want to talk about this, and it may be useful to you, which is the only reason I'm making it into a video at all. I was wound too tight. It's the lockdown stuff. I was too critical. And I'll relate it to the Sadducees and the Pharisees, and I'll put them together and call them the Sadducees. No, they were too stuck on the law, and this was Jesus's problem with them. He's like, he came to, like, kind of not in a weird way, but Jesus kind of came and said, okay, this whole stuff with the law, like, they were like, you're gonna heal this guy on the Sabbath. And Jesus was, yeah, I'm going to straighten out his hand on the Sabbath. You got a problem with that? You're going to eat the grain in the fields on a Sunday or whatever they were doing? And he said, yeah, remember when Prophet King David ate the showbread? That's part of your law. What about that? So, and they ask him, okay, so there's a woman and she gets passed around through 7 brothers and they all die. When they get to heaven, whose wife is she? They were too stuck on the law. That doesn't mean it's an excuse to go out and sin and do all the things that are in the 10 Commandments not to do. But that's why Jesus said, a new commandment I give unto thee. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love God above all else. That's the most important thing. After that, love your neighbor as yourself. You want to know what love is? You got to be willing to forgive. You want to know what love is, you got to love God first, because if you don't love God above all else, you can't love your neighbor as yourself. And if you don't love your neighbor as yourself, you can't be forgiven your trespasses, because the precondition for being forgiven your sins, and repentance is huge with God, is that you have to forgive others who have sinned against you. It's in the Lord's Prayer. It's like the phone number for God that Jesus gave the apostles was, Our Father who art in heaven. And part of that phone number for God is like all these core things that, like, you know, when you pray then like this. And one of those core things is tell God you're sorry, and if you want him to forgive you, and I assure you you do, then you have to be able to forgive others their trespasses, because you know why you did the shit that you did, right? You're selfish. So now you know why they did what they did. So forgive them, because you want God to forgive you. You got to be willing to forgive. And if you can't do that, how can you love anybody? And if you don't love God above all else and realize how great he is that he gave us all the best things, then you're not going to be able to love anybody else. And you'll be lonely, and you'll be making TikToks crying as a woman, or whatever kind of TikToks a man makes. Complaining about how the opposite sex is terrible, whether you're a man or a woman. Well, they're not fair. And to make videos complaining about it, or telling all your worst dirty secrets and stuff. You're supposed to confess to God in secret, not on your phone to everybody. I know in the early days of the church, confession used to be to everybody in the congregation. But they stopped doing that, and confessions went private, because interlopers would come to church and say, you got to come to the church. You got to look at these Christians, because they say all their dirtiest secrets to each other, and we can go listen and then go out and gossip and tell everybody the shit they've been doing. Did you know that Saul was screwing a donkey? That's crazy. So the early days of the church, they would confess everything. Now we confess everything, but it's not to God. It's into our phone. And it's not good for us, because it has something to do with our narcissism. Like when the women cry and they tell all their dirty secrets. And it's all, and they're using it as advertisement for the next guy. Or when a girl does a TikTok, because there's compilations of these, and the girl does a TikTok and she's doubling down on, she's humiliated because she let guys run a train on her, and then she's like, no, but it was great actually, and then she tries to fool herself into thinking that it was a good thing, but underneath it all you can tell that she's, you know, like, she's humiliated by it, and she's like, no, I'm gonna like own it, I'm gonna own my shit and say that it was the best part of my year last year was having a train run on her. That's horrible. And there's a lot of videos like this, and you know, I feel like I live a sheltered life because I can't know it all, and the algorithm doesn't send me things that I might like. And when I make videos, I don't care what's trending. Like every now and then I'm like, oh, I want to make a video about that, and it's a thing that I've seen in other people's videos, and that would be as close as I get to trending. Like when I did the video recently about the Epstein files and how Trump took the mask off. Okay, that's news to everybody because he said he would drain the swamp, and he lied. Because he was never going to drain the swamp, and now they're like, oh well, we're plowing through with a whole bunch of shit really fast, so who cares what they think about it. You know what, you're a loser. You want to know the Epstein files? You're a loser. That was Obama did that, and he's like, he's done with it now. He's moving. I gotta support people who gave me the gold pager. Aren't pagers, they gave Trump, tiny hat people gave Trump a gold page, wasn't it? And Netanyahu gave him a, whoever it was, they gave him one of those types, gave him a gold pager, and they put his face on a coin. Do you know what pagers were used for? Those were the things that they would blow up Muslims with, right? Muslims have a pager and they make it explode because lithium's in it or whatever. So, anyway, he's evil. I told you so. Anybody that has a Simpsons episode predicting that he would be the president, that's not a good guy. So yeah, so I needed to lighten up because that's the problem with the people that rejected Jesus to this day, right? Those people that live out in the desert in a state that was founded in 1948. They rejected God. They're the people that put him up there. People that didn't reject Jesus, you know, when he was there and, you know, after he was crucified, those people, the remnant is the 144,000 that were saved the first time, or really the second time he came back, because he was resurrected. Then he was there for 40 days, then he ascended, and then he came, he's like, I'm coming right back. And then he came back, and he established his 1,000-year millennial reign where he ruled with an iron rod. So those people that were his were no longer, the remnant is the 144,000 that were saved already. They're not here anymore. Those people in the desert aren't part of the 144,000. He was talking about when he melted down the world the first time and then established his 1,000-year millennial reign. Do you understand what I mean when I'm saying that? Anyway, I'm just going to keep going. So those people in the desert that observe the law are the people who, what is it called, Shabbat, where they're like, oh, it's Saturday, we have to honor the Sabbath, but not for Jesus, because they're not Christians, they're Jews. So they have all these devices that are like trying to like trick a God. They're like, well, technically, Lord, you can't do that. Jesus knows the truth. He knows your heart. God, the Father, or whatever, the God of Abraham, knows your heart. Okay? So trying to, like, finesse or manipulate with God. Well, technically, Lord, we didn't, it was the Sabbath and it was Saturday, so we have a thing that we didn't use any appliances or whatever. They like have a thing that they can use their phone, but they don't touch any buttons. You know what I mean? All these devices they have. It's like a whole like cottage industry for these people. That's what the Egyptians try to do. The Egyptians have this idea of when you meet God, like you plead with him your case. You don't get to do that. You get judged. You don't get to plead your case. All right? The time to plead your case is when you're alive, and that means you tell him you're sorry and you change your ways. God helps you, and then he says, you know, whether you hear it or not, he says, okay, I hear you, I forgive you, don't sin again. Jesus did that when he was alive, and that's why that's in the Bible. He heals the guy and he says, okay, go away and don't sin no more. There's only so many times you can go back to doing, you know, take it to God and keep doing the same sin. You can't just like, well, I told him I'm sorry, so now I'm going to go do it again. And you can't meet God and be like the Egyptian belief of God or the gods or whatever. We can go on like I'm going to rationalize with him. No, he knows your heart. You can't, you know, so we're too stuck. Like people can get, they don't have a heart like the Sadducees and the Pharisees. They were, their hearts were hardened and they were obeying the law. So, and they wanted to reject Jesus. It's the vine dresser and the vineyard owner and the vine dresser's son. Jesus is the vine dresser's son. So the vine dresser sends his son, and then the Sadducees and the Pharisees say, let's kill him and the vineyard will be ours. That's not about the inheritance that God has for us. It's about holding on to the law. Do you understand? That's what the vine dresser and the vineyard owner and the vine dresser's son is God and Jesus. And the Sadducees and the Pharisees are the people that killed the vine dresser's son. The vineyard owner's son, which is God. That story is about, I'm sorry I'm butchering it because I keep getting, so the vineyard owner is God. The vineyard owner's son is Jesus. I hope I haven't butchered this. I'm not doing this episode over again. The vineyard owner's son is Jesus, and the vine dressers, I guess, are the Sadducees and the Pharisees, who are holding on to the law, and they don't care about the widows. And they're like, well, we're upholding the law, so technically we can rob people and cast widows out into the street and rob everybody and be, you know, like the stereotypes we think of the grabblers today. You know, with the Skeksis and Skexriel is the reference I would use on my channel, tiny hat people. Not everybody that's a tiny hat person is evil. I can think of 2 people that are of the people of the chosen ones, and they're really good to me. Not everybody, you know what I mean? They don't accept Jesus and everything, but God knows our hearts, okay? But I also have seen those people that are, you know, like the Muslims do the same things. Oh, you know, do you ever see Muslim contempt for other people because they're really stuck in their ways? Well, we're doing that to each other through social media platforms. We're judging and being disgusted and being vocal about it. Maybe not you or me. I mean, I've done some of that. I mean, like judging everybody. God's the one that's going to judge us, and it's not like going to meet, who's the god of death in Egyptian stuff? It's not like going to meet Anubis at the pillars or whatever that the Egyptian belief is for when you die, the crocodile-headed man or whatever it is. It's an Egyptian belief, which is basically how the Jews believed, that somehow you can like bargain and wager with God, and you can't. He knows your heart. You're going to get judged. But you don't get to have but I did, there's none of that. You can't go in there, but Gloiven. You don't get to do that when you meet God. You don't even get to do that now. He knows your heart now. What you have is the possibility of repenting and really meaning it and telling God you're sorry, and then you got to change. And you got to open your heart so that you can love, to love God and to say thank you and I'm sorry, and then he teaches you how to love. And he changes your hardened heart. And a lot of people that don't come around to Jesus might be better people than you or me because of love. Maybe they don't know that it's Jesus. They don't know about God the Father. But, you know, people of other religions probably have maybe a better chance of getting into heaven, or me, or, you know, you even, or other people we know, because their heart is more right. Or maybe there's somebody that's LGBTQ and they're like, but God hates fags and they're not getting into heaven because he put the thing in his mouth, and she's doing this. And that has nothing to do with like being a good person. I mean, that's damage. We all have damage here. But what about the condition of your heart? Do you love people? Are you caring? Maybe the woman that's doing this, even though she's a real messed up, might be a better person. Probably not. You know, like if you probably have a, you know, but look at all the hardened heart Christians that are like, but this and that, we're supposed to hate them and that's unacceptable and you can't be on my podcast more because you made a joke about Jesus is gay or whatever, and it was just a joke. So, it's your heart. He knows your heart now, while it's still beating. So there's no like petitioning God, but I honored on the Shabbat or whatever. I didn't use any devices every Saturday, and whatever. That doesn't matter to God. So God told me to lighten up because I made a lot of videos about like Leviticus 15. About the laws of blood and all this stuff, and I'm like, you know what, it's a fallen world, we mess up. It's not an excuse for me to go around doing stuff I'm not supposed to do. But the law was a thing that Jesus kind of trashed and set right. He's like, a lot of the stuff that was in the law may or may not have been stuff that God said. It was just stuff that they had reasonings why they put all these things into law, because they kept adding to it. And they kept adding stuff to the law to refine it or hone it, to keep people in line. And then Jesus was like, I got to blow all this shit out because you guys have gone way too far with this stuff. I never said that. You know, I'm not talking about for Christians. I'm talking about for the people that stay with the Torah or the Talmud and all that stuff. That's why Jesus said, no, I'm setting this right. And then he came and he had his teaching. And then that butted heads with what they thought were their chosen people. So now they're still waiting for their Messiah, and they got it all wrong. And same thing with the Muslims. A horribly repressed guy that grew up in China might have a better chance of getting into heaven because God knows why he was conditioned that way. Like a guy that took his honorable #1 baby girl daughter and threw her in a rock in a bag with a river might have a better chance of getting into heaven than Joel Osteen. He probably does. Forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do. That's what St. Stephen said when they stoned him, and over there was Saul holding everybody's clothes. And we know what happened to Saul on the road to Damascus. He became St. Paul. And he had his head cut off, for Jesus. And anyway, I was going to say something else about St. Paul, but I can't remember. So anyway, I think God was telling me to lighten up because I had become way too uptight, and I could see it reflect. I mean, I couldn't see it until just today, but a lot of my videos, I could see that I was wound too tight and too judgmental and maybe just getting weird. And I see some of that in the content of other people, like the judging people. Like, yeah, it's probably a good thing not to say vulgarities and curse, but just because I said fuck to you doesn't mean that I'm going to hell or that I put a curse on you. I'm tired of some of the influencers that were in my life in terms of Christians where they said this stuff that is just like, shut up. Like, maybe you're going to be all right. Like, I'm not using this as an excuse to have a drink. I just don't drink. I feel like God's like, no, you don't need to do that, so I don't do it. But other people having drink, or that I used to go to Yuki Orthodox Church, and they had like a wine. They would have like every now and then have like a wine tasting thing in a church basement. Does that mean that grieves God? No. But if you watch some of these YouTuber people like Joe Schimmel or whatever, he'd say, no, it's got to be grape juice. And he explains that they measured out, like that they used to have watered down wine, and then Demon Eraser says, but the wine that they used to drink was fermented and 3 days old, so we're never supposed to have alcohol. And alcohol means soul-destroying spirit. Listen to me. Shut up with that shit. The wine tasting at Yuki Orthodox Church in the basement, they're good people and they're not going to hell. And maybe there's a couple drunks at church, but that's just shut up. What about a wine to gladden a man's heart and to ease his distress? This is going too far. Even good people like Joe Schimo, I like him, I like their videos. They get all the whole Israel situation, they're getting it all wrong. But it's just like, lighten up. You're like, I mean, I remember like going to Eastern Orthodox Church and getting wine as communion is like a shot. It's like, it's booze. Like, you fast from midnight till the morning and you don't have anything, and you go to Orthodox Church and then you have the communion. They literally are putting the wine in shot glasses, and you're doing a shot of wine. It's the first thing you have, and you're like, woo! I've done it many times, every Sunday for years. I don't do it anymore. I quit drinking, and I would have that, and I'm like, I don't know if I want the communion wine. They put it in a shot glass. You have blood and body of Christ, and you have a shot of the blood of Christ. Woo! That's the first thing you have in the morning. Now I'm gonna go to the liquor store and buy some wine. What kind of wine is this? Oh, this is a good Yuki wine with the cross. It comes with a cross on it. They sell wine that comes with a little wooden cross. They save them where I used to go to church. I forget the name of the wine. It is really good wine. So does that mean, is it an excuse for alcoholism? No, don't be an alcoholic. But does that mean that nobody can ever have like a drink of anything, or IP crafted beer or whatever? Just shut up. There's also a part, I forget where it is, so I don't know if I want to reference it, but I guess I already started. There's also a part in the Bible where God says, go do this and do that, and then you guys can go out and relax and you can have some strong drink, because I know you guys like to have your strong drink. That's in the Old Testament. I've been wound too tight, and knowing people that are wound too tight, that are living like recluses in their own home with kids, and they get all weird and they're disassociating with everyone because they might get the next virus. And the bozos I used to go to church with that never took their masks off. There's a couple people like that. The Metropolitan saying, everybody, I would just appreciate if you put your masks on. And then there were some people that had balls and courage, that were bold before the Lord, said, I'm not wearing a mask in church. And then they never did. And they didn't get kicked out of church. And I saw they were blessing water. This is a couple years ago, when like 2021, 22. There was the blessing of the water. So the minister, the pastor rather, he breathed over. You're doing the ceremony to make the blessed water. I don't care about blessed water. It doesn't really mean anything to me. But they were doing a ceremony for the blessed water, and you breathe on the water. So he's got the big chalice or whatever you call it. It's like a big thing. He's blessing the whole water, and then it gets poured into the water taps where you can get holy water and take it home with you. The font, the baptismal font water or whatever. So part of the ceremony that you're watching, this is all part of Lent. So he breathed over the water, and some of the people, as soon as they're like, you still gonna do that? Yeah, we're in church with God. We're not gonna get COVID for breathing because the pastor breathed on the water. So he breathed over the water because it's part of the whole occult ritual of it, whatever you want to call it. And people just, they bolted up. They're like, I'm out of here. They wanted everybody to know, no, that's unacceptable. You can't breathe on the water. You might have cooties. And they left because he breathed on the water, and everybody else was like, you should go. Or the Archbishop having rubber gloves on and a face shield, and we're at Bound Brook and his pilgrimage, and he's like, had a gold spoon, and he's like, I assure you, and he stood on steps above everybody else so that he could drop the communion wine and the bread in their mouth, the wine-soaked bread, so he could drop it in their mouth. And he said, look at this. He was warning everybody that they didn't care because they were actually real Christians. Like, we don't care. Well, we don't care about the spoon. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to wear gloves. But he was like trying to comfort everybody. This is the Archbishop. And he's like, I have multiple spoons. If this spoon touches anybody's mouth, I'll set it down and I'll get another spoon so that nobody needs to worry about it. So when I went up there for communion, I wrapped my lips around the spoon. Just, to the Archbishop when I received communion from him. Because I was like, this is bullshit. So that's my way of protest. I heard it, Pete, there's no way that people didn't hear that clank my teeth. My teeth clanked because I bit the spoon. So, but also I was one of the last ones to go up, so. But that's bullshit, right? Is it the blood and body of Christ? Do you believe or do you not believe? It doesn't matter. Some people don't believe in the communion and it has to be grape juice and it shouldn't be wine and all stuff. Look, God knows your heart. So if you believe and it's important to you, it doesn't matter whether it's real wine. It doesn't, all this bullshit. I'm just saying, like, God knows your heart. Just to stop. God knows your heart. And if you feel like your heart's hardened and you don't love God, then you pray for him to open your heart, your tiny grinchy heart. You pray for him to give you a new heart, which is one of the things that's attributed to God. He will give you a new heart. Our hearts are hardened and we need to lighten up. And I was wound too tight, and it's reflected in the videos I deleted. And now that I deleted them, I was tied to them. It was also a point of like pride, like so I could say told you so. I had a whole channel of all stuff like stuff that's coming in the world. I'm like, I told you so. And also there's a lot of stuff that was wrong, so it's easy to delete those so you don't look like an idiot. I'm like, well, that's probably not accurate, so I'm glad I deleted them. But also there was stuff I didn't want to delete because I was like, I want that to be there so I can say I told you so, or I said that first in my channel that has like 12 views per video. And it didn't matter. So I'm starting over from my free hobby that's not monetized, and I'm not trying to sell you a t-shirt. And if I did sell you a t-shirt, then fine. People want to sell a t-shirt that says something Jesus, go ahead, do it if you feel like you can do it. That kind of bothers me. But like I was just too judgmental, and like, you can't do this and you can't do that, and I'm like, God knows your heart. Is that people probably love God, Jesus, they love him a lot more than me because I'm too uptight. I love him, but I do need help with this. I say, give me a new heart. But also I can see, to go back on point, all of this is on point, but there's a lot of being programmed by social media. Do you see, with all the things that I've said? And I forgot what I was going to say. It'll come to me. So I needed to lighten up, and I can see that other people need to lighten up. And, I remember, I can see that I was sheltered in a lot of ways, and we all are. We're all being, I was like, yeah, I think I'm being too sheltered because there's all this other stuff going on that I'm not aware of. And when I see the TikTok cringe compilations, because it seems like they're all TikToks, and I see all the weird shit that people are doing, where I live in my sleepy little burg, none of that stuff's happening. Here's some of the few weird things that I've seen over the years. The people at Family Dollar were all high, and the whole store smelled like weed. That's a new thing. There was a teenage girl on hormones, and she was growing in her mustache, and she was like strutting around, like pretending to be a caricature of what she thought a teenage boy was. And more women holding hands, more lesbian stuff than gay stuff. I mean, than the homo gay guys or whatever. A lot more women are lesbians, because that wasn't really a thing. Like, there was gay guys, but there wasn't like a lot of butch lesbians and stuff. Now I'm seeing just like, looks like girls, and like you can tell that they're couples and they're living together, and they're lesbians, but they look like women. They don't all look like the butchie with the trying to be like, hey, I'm a caricature of a guy. And then the one time at Walden's, there was these really tall people. They were like both like 6'5" or whatever, like super tall. And they were a couple, and they were shaped like pears, and they had tails. They had furry tails. It looked like stuff you use for fly fishing. You know what I'm talking about? Where you get like dead animal parts, like, oh, it's a foxtail. They had these animal tails, and they were shopping at Walmart. These giant 6'5", however tall they were, shaped like pears. So they had giant asses, and all, like, everything about them was drawing attention to the fact that they were wearing tails. And the tails were like, I don't think they were up in their assholes. They were just wearing these tails, like probably attached to the back loop of their pants or whatever. And I'm like, what the hell? And then the black dudes were like, look at that. And they're pointing at the people, these giant freaks with the tails. And what other weird stuff have I seen? Oh, there's a couple different like supermarkets. There's this one guy. He's built like a linebacker, and I don't know how tall he is, but he's definitely over 6 feet with the heels on. And he's one of the cashiers. And it's obviously a giant man, but you know, everybody respects him. He's taller than everybody. But people already were accepting of LGBTQ. But now there's just more of that because it's been propagandized that people would be that way. And he's one of the cashiers. So people have always, well, in my lifetime, have been willing to entertain other people's mental illness, which I guess is how I want to say that. You know, that it's a courtesy. Like the guy at the pharmacy when I was a kid was gay, and I said, Mom, and she said, he's gay. And then I had to find out what that meant from the schoolyard. And I was like, oh, okay, he's gay. And then another thing was going to Toys R Us. And it was like a new store back then. So going to Toys R Us, and there was a tranny there. And I said, you know, we've been there a couple times. At the courtesy booth, there was a tranny. And the one time I was like, Mom, what is it with that lady? There's something about that lady. And he said, that's a man. I said, why? What? So I just kind of let it go, and my mom just kind of let it go, and I was like, okay, that's a man. My mom wasn't rude. I wasn't rude, but I had to ask my mom, what's with that lady? That's a man. Yeah, but she dresses like that's a man? I don't even think I knew what question to ask after that. That was a long time ago. But I remember that I would always kind of probably look too much and stare at the tranny, this horribly confused man. Because I knew something was off, but I just didn't know what it was. So we'd go to a toy store like a couple times a year or whatever, and I'm like, there's that lady, but it's a man. So people, you know what I mean? Like in the toy store, there was a tranny in the toy store, and I'm so expletive deleted old. So that was a long time ago. Yeah, it was happening. That was one of the things that my dad complained about as a teenager. He had a driving job as a teenager. He used to go into the city, and he would talk about it was a shitty part of town that he worked, and he would drive around there. And he said he would always get hit on by the trannies, and they'd always try and pick him up. They're prostitutes. They're trans prostitutes. And that was a long time ago, because I'm old as shit, and my dad's even older than me. And he would talk about in the bad part of the city that they would always, catcall him, because he was like a teenager. It's not new. But, we're being propagandized too, and, it's in the beers, feminizing people, and the kids are kitty cat boys and all that shit. They're making everybody and everything. So, and I don't know who watches these, nothing against self-respecting gays. Everybody's self-deprecating a little bit. But people used to have dignity, and now, they have a pride parade. It's the deadliest of the 7 sins. So anyway, when, if you look at what's trending, it's how they want us to think about stuff. And the way that they want us to think about what's trending is the way that they wanted us to think about the TV news. They want us to be afraid. They want us to be shocked. They want us to be alarmed. And they want us to feel like we have to watch and we have to check in. And if you make content at all, and a lot of people do anymore, like everybody has a podcast, everybody has video, they make TikToks or something. Even old people do this. And it's a lot of people. I'm amazed at my parents. Like, I know that my parents know how to use my phone better than me, and I'm, you know, like, they're old. And, you know, like the story I've used over and over again in other videos is the guy at church, the old timer, he was like in his 70s, and or maybe he's in his 80s by now. And he's like, look, and he showed me his phone on Facebook, and he's like, all the girls that were his sweethearts. And I'm like, one, all these old ladies are on Facebook. Two, they're showing everybody, like, look when I was beautiful. And he's showing me all his girlies. And they were beautiful. And they were all his exes, or so he says. It might have just been girls he had crushes on. But they're online is the point. And I haven't even had Facebook since like 2010. Because I was like, I don't want Facebook tracking me. They probably still have my photos. I remember people being humiliated because their parents got a divorce, and their dad and mom are on MySpace, and their dad's MySpace profile picture was him in his underwear, tighty whities, with a baseball cap on, a trucker cap, and sitting in front of the computer naked with socks on and his tighty whities, announcing that he was single, holding a beer can, and he looked like Jeff Foxworthy. That's what the guy looked like. And this poor young girl was humiliated because there was her dad announcing that he was single now on MySpace, and that was probably like around 2008 or something, or between 2006 and 2008. And yeah, I mean, there were people who were humiliating themselves willingly back then. Old people. So that's what the internet did. It made us narcissists. Like the idea that I make videos where I think you need to hear what I think about anything. I'm kind of trying to get in good with God, though, right? A little bit. You know, this is part of spreading the word. I didn't start out making videos that way. But now I'm kind of like, you know, I'm always telling you, you know, pray to God. You know, if I'm going to have anything that I reoccur on this channel, like, what's the most useful thing I could say? Ask God for help. Which I do believe. Nobody knows you better than God already does. He knows your heart. And he also, like, there's also ripe shit that you did that you would never dare tell anybody else, but you can tell God. And you're like, hey, you know, and you know that God knows already, but you don't want to talk to him about it because you're a pervert. You should. This all reminds me of the 1960s stuff where they said don't trust anyone over 30. Yeah, why? Because you might learn something, because older people have lived, and with, you know, age comes experience, and with age and experience is the potential for wisdom, and, you know, that you might have knowledge to drop. So don't listen to anybody older than you that's giving advice, because they want you to fuck up. And that's divide and conquer. So we're divided and conquer. When our phone gives us, or not our phone, but rather the internet or YouTube wants to give you, or whatever social media platform for that matter, when they want to give you your own personal algorithm, that's like the movie Labyrinth, where it's like, here, you want this? Here's all your favorite things. Stay in a room and be a shut-in. And that literally is what they want to do. That's part of the divide and conquer. They want to take everything away from us, but not the phone. Until they take the phone away, then it's just barbarism, and they want you to, you know, fight each other for resources that they took away when there's enough for everybody, and we could spread out on the planet. Instead, they're pushing everybody to live on top of each other and programming people through generational, what do you call it when you hold somebody down? And then export them to another place and make them go crazy with overstimulation till, you know, women have to have self-defense pigs because Muslims fear pork. And they rape. Obviously not all people are like that, but if you take people from a repressed place, that's the word I wanted. You take people from a repressed place and keep them down and program them and have a horribly misleading religion that says it's okay. You know, like a Christian lays down their life and they get killed and martyred, but it's another thing to be a martyr in Islam, where it's like part of being a martyr is you have to murder a bunch of people and you die in that. That's not martyrdom. Martyrdom is laying down your life. But you know, Islam is like, you know, kaboom, hey, a lot of godless heathens are dead, God's gonna love that, then I'm going up to angel and have houris in heaven. That's what they call the angelic sex sluts in heaven. And in heaven, your mom will be part of a harem, and so are your aunt and your grandma, and they'll be turned into beautiful 18-year-olds with heaving bosoms dripping with milk. And then boy bombers will be holding out for all eternity trays of milk and honey so you can take a sex break from banging them all. And the sex angels. It's bullshit, right? Obviously. And people believe this. Just like this. I mean, at least if somebody's a Satanist, they know that it's true on earth. The punishment for it is eternity. It's another thing in ignorance to be, you know, to believe that, you know, a boy bomber is like not misguided. And all the other stupid shit people believe, like they believe in Odin, or that, you know, like that's okay to be a furry or a diaper fur or whatever. I don't know. So anyway, I just want to talk about all these things and how having an algorithm for us is like programming us and insulating us and making us sheltered and shut in, which I already was, but I didn't get that way from like algorithm giving me all the things I want. I got it from staying away from all that shit, from having a very specific relationship to my phone, where it's like it's for people calling me. Like my phone's mostly off, you know, unless I know, I'm like, oh, somebody's gonna call me, give me a window of time, and then I give them that window of time to call me, and then a little extra, and then I shut it off, leave a message, so everybody knows me, that I'm the asshole. Why don't you have your phone on? Because I don't want my phone on all the time, and I'm not going to go to bed with my phone on unless somebody's in a hospital, and if I do, it's going to be across the room. It doesn't have to be next to my head. I can't believe people, like how many people need to get tumors and have bone spurs on their skull, or get a tumor on their side of their pocket where they always keep their phone. Like, what the hell? If you read your cell phone book, which you could never possibly, they tell you that it causes tumors. Every cell phone book has to tell you somewhere that they cause tumors. Anyway, people are addicted. There's doom scrolling. Like, it's by design to keep us addicted to it. Look at what the kids go through. How many times do I have to tell you this story? I've been telling it a lot lately. I know somebody, and I was complaining to them. I said, do you believe how the kids are addicted to the tablets? And they go to a restaurant and they're on the tablet and all this stuff. Like, that was the whole point of leaving the house, is there's no TV. They put a TV everywhere, and the kid can't eat their meal or do anything without the tablet in front of them. And they're like, yeah, I know. We don't let our little one have a tablet like that. They just use it to go to sleep at night. So every night, the way the kid gets to sleep is to get tired, getting hypnotized, because they have like a toddler. And the kid gets hypnotized by, I guess, doom scrolling. I've also, somebody I know, I had to take the phone away from somebody else's kid because they were scrolling like inappropriate stuff. And they were like 4 years old. I'm sorry, they were exactly, specifically 4 years old. And I said, what are you doing? And they were scrolling. And I saw the stuff that was showing up, and I took the phone away from them. Actually, I didn't. I'm sorry. I don't want to lie. I told the grandmother, I said, hey, you got to take the phone away from that kid. And she's like, no, she just likes to do that. Can you believe that she can do that? She's only 4 years old. And I was like, no, you got to take it away. They're looking at some inappropriate shit. So she took the phone away, and the kid was fine. Very little protesting. I don't think she made a complaint or whatever. But, I want the phone. And I'm like, no, honey, you can't have that. I said, don't let this kid have the phone anymore. They're looking at. I don't even know how the kid found that dirty stuff. I guess it was on whoever. I guess it was on the phone, the owner of the phone's phone. That was like 2 weeks ago, maybe. And you've seen the compilations maybe where the kids lose it when they take the tablet away and they throw a tantrum and they go nuts just to get the tablet back. What the hell are they doing on the tablet? Are they watching Project Elsagate videos? Probably. That's probably mostly what's out there. You're not supposed to be watching all this stuff. It's programming. It's more transparently programming now than ever. The grandkid was watching something, and I said, don't let them watch this anymore. And there was a show called Toys and Colors, where it's all Asian people, and they don't have any parents. It's Asian children, and all they do is play with toys, and they live in this weird fantasy world, which is like inside of a house, and it's weird. And it's clearly like communist propaganda shit. And they're like, hi, I'm Uncle So-and-so. And they can't even speak English barely. And the kids don't have any parents. Everyone is an aunt. There's children, and then there's auntie this and uncle that. Go over there to auntie Ling Ling, and here's, what about Uncle Chari? And all this. And in broken English. No parents. I said, is there ever parents in this show? And they said, no, they just have aunts and uncles. Like, countless aunts and uncles, however many it is. And I was like, then why do you let them watch it? Oh, they like it. They just play with toys and they do. No, just, look, Roku TV has so many things. Everybody that has kids should be finding old programming if they're going to let anybody watch anything. Like, you should have the cutoff point of stuff that kids are allowed to watch be like when the internet started, when YouTube started, like whatever year that was. You can't watch anything beyond 2008 or whatever. Like if you're going to watch anything, it has to be programming from before then. Even that stuff's not good for you. Probably. You'd probably still make you into a furry. Yeah, talk about suspended adolescence. You want to dress up and pretend to be an animal and shit in a diaper. And put your thing out through a hole in bone and have sex. Dress up like a furry, wear a diaper, and it's just whatever. We're programmed. So I guess that's enough. I just wanted to talk about how having an algorithm created for you about stuff you like is also like nullifying you and pacifying you and kind of putting you like, I don't know what, I'm at a lack for words. It's like having a hypnotic sort of, not a good choice of words. It's like having a hypnotic effect on you and making you passive and just saying, here, watch this, and here, or be alarmed. They want to know what you like and collect the data, but they also want to influence what you like and how you like it. So if they don't like it, they want to direct you to another thing, or that would be the intention. They set the trends, and energy flows where attention goes. So whatever you put your focus on, they're harvesting that energy in an occult sense. What's everybody focused on? Whatever Larry Fink told them to be focused on, whatever Bilderberg meetings, whatever, you know what I mean? Whoever your social engineers are, they're telling you not just what to think about, but how to think about the whole world predicated upon trending topics of what they tell you to think about. And, granted, some of the trending stuff is just to waste your time, to divert you away from, like, when they're like, good, naughty Epstein stuff, they're probably getting ready to collapse the economy somewhere else. Like, when they, whatever. When they do diversionary tactics. Hey, look over here. We're going to... Oh, you believe this outrageous event that happened or a tragedy? Yeah, we're changing a bill over here. We're just pushing it through really quick. It's a magician trick. It's the misdirect. Hey, look over here. Pow! Look over there. Look, do you believe that? Look at a naked big titty woman. Bam! And I punch, you know what I mean? Or they're like, bam, punch you in the face, but they're doing something else over here. Misdirect. Where, like, look over here. Blumhouse scare. Jump scares, that's, you know, it's a misdirect. Hegelian dialectics, we want you to think about this. What are you going to do about that? Here's what we want you to do from the first. We're just making you think about a thing you wouldn't think about. What do you want us to do about that? We're giving you one option. We're going to do the thing that we want to do. But now we want you to think about it first. The illusion of choice. Left wing, right wing, same bird. That bird's a turkey vulture. So, when I look at the TikTok cringe compilations, I'm realizing there's all kinds of stuff that I didn't know was happening. And I think it's like kind of okay. Like my delusion, I guess, would be thinking, wow, look at the content that I watch without having an algorithm send me stuff, without signing into YouTube, because it's pretty much all I do is watch YouTubes. So I only have a limited knowing of stuff to look for, and every now and then I find a cool new channel because somebody say, we're going to be on this show. And I'm like, okay, I'll check out that show. And then I find out that there's a whole other channel that I like. But where was I going with this? Oh, but I was limited in what I'm exposed to. So when I see the cringe compilations, I'm thinking that, well, people are coming around to Jesus, and that's a good thing. But what I see when I look at the cringe compilations is there's a whole other multiple different worlds out there where we all live, which is the same world. There's a whole bunch of other realities and delusions that other people are living in, that they're willing to go to the park when you can see back in the background other people at the park watching them or just trying to ignore them, and there's somebody on a leash in the park with a pup play mask on or in a full fursuit trying to get attention and going and shaking their head and rubbing their hands because, you know, like you have to use body language because the furries don't want to talk or whatever because it's creepy and weird and shit. And it's about sex. Just so you know, furry stuff is always about leading to sex. It's just innocent. No, it was never innocent. It's always something weird. It's like, I don't know. It's not good. But people are willing to do disgusting stuff. You got a lot of stupid tattoos. I know about stupid tattoos. I don't have any tattoos, but I've dated stupid tattoos. I just want to see skin. I don't want a woman to have tattoos. I don't like them. You have a booger there. That's my tattoo. Oh yeah, it's a blemish. No, it's a tattoo. I believe the body is a canvas. Oh yeah, well I believe the body is his holy temple, and you just put graffiti on that. You ruined a perfectly good rack with a butterfly tattoo on your neck or whatever, between your tits. It's stupid. They call them tramp stamps and people still get them. The idea that there's more than one guy in the world that has the tattoo of a cat's asshole pointing at you around his belly button. It's our degradation. So yeah, so I wanted to clip grab cringe compilations to get more in touch with what was going on in the world. You can look at the cringe compilation and say everybody's crazy because it's a compilation of cringe, like volume 496 of Cringetopia or whatever number they're on. Because there are like into the 400s of cringe compilations. There's a lot of people and they're humiliating themselves and they think it's cool. The girl's doing this thing, whatever, and you know what I mean? They're like doing these things and they're like looking like Five Nights at Freddy's and stuff. I think it took years before I figured. I said, what's Fafnif or whatever? And they said it's Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm like, oh, why are they dressing up like that? I don't know, because they're LGBTQ? They're lesbians? I don't know what's baka mean. It's the anime thing. I don't know. It's in the cringe compilations. I remember the thirst traps. People were staying home and they started making thirst traps in like 2020. Right? Am I wrong about that? That's what the young people are doing. They're developing narcissism. So, here's the different perspectives just to sum it all up. You can look at the stuff that's happening and say, people have gone crazy. And you can shelter yourself that way and say, I don't want to see that. Or you can shelter yourself and say, here's the only things that I'm interested in. That's the whole world to me. So people come back to Jesus, great. Meanwhile, a lot of people have not come back to Jesus. There's a lot of people that are so far away from it. I had a mistaken perspective. I was like, good. In my small pond, my videos that I watch without having an algorithm to send me stuff, I'm thinking people are coming around to Jesus and the world's falling apart, and that's good. But that people are coming around to Jesus. But really, I think more people are falling away into weird stuff, and it all has to do with sex and perversions and unreality, which would be the internet. And I don't even want to know what AI porn looks like. I saw one picture that wasn't pornography, but it looked like an airbrush drawing of Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl, looking like she was going to get railed by a football team. I think it was the Stars. Remember that from the National Football League or whatever it was? Remember the Stars? It's a football league that doesn't exist anymore. I forget what they called that. They have the NFL, National Football League. What did they call it? I don't know. I don't remember anymore. And it was nothing pornographic, but I was like, that's one of those AI images they talked about of, Taylor Swift was going to get hiked by a football team. And it was all AI generated, and they're all black dudes. And I was like, that's probably one of those things. So yeah, AI everything. It's a crime to do deep fakes, or what do they call that? Face swap. You can't do that. Somebody got arrested for face swapping. A streamer. It was Johnny Somali. I'm too old to know who that is. So, yeah, we're being all sheltered. It's part of the divide and conquer strategy, even if we don't know it. I didn't realize that I knew I was out of touch, but I didn't know that I had lived in this, specifically insular world where I was like, hey, in my algorithm that I didn't realize I was in, because I didn't think I had an algorithm, because YouTube doesn't know what I want to watch. Because, I watch stuff not signed in. I clip grab it, I watch it offline. So I clip grab not signed in. So, and I delete my history. So YouTube never knows. Every time I go to YouTube, it's like a fresh start, because it has nothing to go by. And everybody uses a VPN now. So, they don't know me, so I have to find stuff, which is hard to do. It'd probably be better if I would just allow myself to have an algorithm and then reject it. But even without an algorithm, for me, I still was by the limited range of things that I'm aware of, that is my algorithm. Even though, you probably wouldn't call it an algorithm. It's a non-algorithm. It's just having your head in the sand in your own particular way. And I was calling it being sheltered. What's a better word for that? Just insulated, divided and conquered. Here's your lane, Scott. Just, you can stay over here. I don't need an algorithm to suggest me stuff. I've isolated myself, and that is my delusion. Meanwhile, people are nuts. So you see what I mean? I kind of already had my own personal algorithm, which was just my ignorance and my unwillingness to interact or to be interested in the daily trending topics or whatever. It didn't matter. They have my lane that I'm in. I'm watching Christian conspiratorial content and social, like how we're being social engineered, and that's my stuff that I watch, and that's just my own narrow lane that I put myself into. And then to pull myself out of that, I watch cringe compilations or like manosphere stuff or Karens, and it can make you think that everybody's crazy, but in my life nobody's like that, except for the few examples I gave where people are shut-ins because they're shell-shocked from COVID. People got weird, and I blame the internet. And, you know, I used to always blame Japan, but that's just like just they export some weirdness with the anime and the manga and all the Japanese things. And people love it because they're going over there. Too many people are going to Japan, and people are like, okay, we had enough. Stay home. This is the Japs only section of town. Take it to Osaka. Take it to Fukushima. Why don't you go visit Fukushima? Nobody's over there. You have it all yourself. And it's also like a dehumanizing thing. I think a lot of people have subhumanized Japanese people because they're so polite, so socially engineered. So, yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that, you know, like, yeah, they got to me. And also I think that God wanted me to lighten up. I was just wound too tight. And I think that's a pressure relief valve, is when people watch like other people's, when they watch cringe compilations, you're like, well, at least it's not me. You know what I mean? The kind of stuff when you watch lolcows or mildly retarded people and autism and all that stuff, and you're like, look at these guys, at least I'm not that. That's what that is, right? It's like you look at cringe and you go, well, at least that's not me. Or you see the cringe and you're like, oh no, that's funny because it's relatable, because that's exactly the type of cringe that I am, or whatever. So, I don't know, I just wanted to point that out. I thought there was some value in that. You know, like, you know, you're not supposed to be interested in everything. That's the problems that people got into C-SPAN. They were like seeing so much of the world that they couldn't see before, and it's all stuff you can't do anything about anyway, but you would watch it and be alarmed by, but this is happening over there, and that. Now we know what's happening in the world. Another country, America is a great place that other people want to be, because other countries like all have problems with rape. America is like probably the least rapey of a lot of places, except for places where it's cold outside. But, you know, they brought the rapist into those places, and, you know, that's like the Nordic countries, right? Make some more muggles. What do they got? Blonde hair, blue eyed white women, the most beautiful women? Send over the muggles to rape them and tell the guys to stand down. Now you're going to have to fight back. That in UK, Europe, wherever. You're going to have to fight back. You have to be willing to risk yourselves to take your countries back, because they're not going to stop. So, you know, people have to stand up, because of standing down, you know, got your whole country raped, not just the girls that couldn't get away from the muzzers, or the voodoo Haitians, or whoever. I don't know who you got, whatever country you're watching this from. It's probably in America. I don't think Canadians are allowed to watch my videos. Maybe I need to look at my subscribers and get to see what, you know, who they are. So, anyway, thank you for hanging out with me. See what they did to us? Doesn't that suck? How'd they get you? Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell and select all notifications. And for a fee of $4.99, I'm going to start telling you guys some really ripe shit, so you can become a member and we can pass each other emojis. I can tell you about my favorite cam girls. I'm just joking, I don't have any. I don't even know how to do that shit. Like, there's so much, like I said, when I don't know what Reddit is. I don't know what Discord is, but a Discord server just sounds like a bad idea. I mean, it's called Discord, and it seems like the people that are heavily into that stuff are nuts. And you probably shouldn't watch too much Kiwi tapes or, you know what I mean, like just wallowing in the filth of the internet that's harder to find. You know, like the Medicare stuff, the stuff that he would get into. And probably that's what probably made him sick. Just spending too much time online looking at the degenerates and all that, you know, like all the, like people abusing animals and stuff like that, and all this shit that he would watch. And the retards and queers and everything. So I'm sorry, I'm sure I'm sorry that I said some horrible things, but, you know, like, I'm learning how to love, and I couldn't do that, you know, if it wasn't for God showing me, like, getting through to me, and, you know, when He can, as He can. I feel like God has, like, cracked something open in me. He's molding me and shaping me because I ask Him to. And I'm starting to, like, He did something to me this year, and which is opening me up to Him, I guess. You know, I've been talking about God for years, but it's a little bit different now. Like, I needed to lighten up, and I had gotten wound too tight. Not when we went under lockdowns. No, I was plenty loose and well-oiled then, with liquor and weed. But now I'm sober all the time, and I don't even get those communion shots on Sundays at Orthodox Church anymore. But I was still wound too tight. Like everybody went, I'm like contrarian, like everybody went in the lockdowns and got programmed and it got weird. And now everybody, like a lot of people are still programmed and they're weird, but like I went into weird lockdown mode in my isolated, I only watched these videos. So I became like an alarmed, shocked Christian. Look, what about this? What about that? And, you know, granted most things should be about God, but I got weird with it in an unhealthy way. And I apologize if I, you know, alarmed and shocked you, but look at how weird the word really did get. I kind of didn't see that, like when I go to the store so much. I'm sure I could give examples of more weird things. I went to go to GameStop for somebody else a couple years ago, and the whole place was it was in Christmas, and the whole place was, and so it was full, and the whole place was hotboxed, and I think people's moms were in there getting high as customers. I mean, it was a little it was like it smelled like stinky, sticky weed. And I was like, and they were all looking at, like, everybody knew, like, some people didn't like it, and other people were smiling, like, this is weed. I smell weed in here. They were like, I can't believe I smell weed in the GameStop. Yeah, what do you think these guys do? They smoke weed, they beat off, and they drink corn product, and they eat corn product. I don't mean like corn means porn. I mean like actual corn. Like soda is corn syrup, and food, everything has corn in it. It's government subsidized product. Corn, wheat, and soy are subsidized by the government. It's people chow, you know, except for the chow that has the people in it. That's the Soylent, and that would be like McDonald's and, you know, Burger King probably and all that shit. So, yeah, you know, you have to, like, maybe better check yourself before you wreck yourself, because they're wrecking us for us. We don't have to do anything. We're just being wrecked by the stuff that we watch. You know, and even too many cringe compilations. Like, you can watch the cringe compilations and be alarmed about the state of the world because it's all degeneracy. Like, some of the TikToks I see, like, I never see these people in life, but in a cringe compilation, they have people whose skulls, I'm like, I think about what this person's skull looks like with a bone, and their whole head just looks like it comes down to a point. Yeah, I'm like, what kind of up skull do they have? And they're making a TikTok with they have like a punk rock mohawk and tattoo on the side of their face, and they're like, oh, and their teeth are just like have hyperplexia or whatever, the teeth or whatever, and you know, I'm like, man, what the heck? Like, this looks like hills have eyes type people, you know. Inbreds or just deformities. Like, I don't see that stuff all the time, but if you're online all the time, and a lot of people are avoiding the world and staying online, you get weird. I didn't even talk about pornography. Like the idea that like, you know, like you can just talk to a beautiful woman and you can tell her what to do. You can type it. I guess you can just talk to them, right? For cam girls, like you can probably just talk. Like, see, I'm so out of touch. Like, however it is you communicate with cam girls. Yeah, it's like, oh, this beautiful woman, she'd never talk to me. And now you can type to her or just talk to her if you have the nerve or the technology, I guess. You're like, hey, did you get the glass dildo that I mailed you? Yeah, try that one on now. Did you get the weird thing did you get the ovipositor I sent you? Did you get my favorite flavor of Jello that I sent you? Whatever. I paid for it. Okay, now go ahead and put Jello eggs up your ass with an alien insect. I don't know. They did something to us, and they put stuff in the water. You know that, right? Gamer sups, G Fuel. It's shut in. You might just call it shut in sups. Yeah. And I get people being traumatized where they just want to stay at home. They're like, I look at all the videos I watch. It's crazy out there. The idea of gang stalking is schizophrenic. We've become a schizophrenic society. We really have. And by design, like they did that to us. Like you might, like what, I don't know what they do to you. When's the last time you thought about yourself and what's wrong with you? I mean, other in the self-deprecating way. You see what I mean? Like they want us to think that we're all crazy. What type of person are you? If you're a woman and everything's your fault. If you're a black person, everything's either your fault and you're lazy or it's somebody else's fault. Whoever you are, there's some kind of propaganda aimed at you to tell you that everybody else is awful, but you're not okay either, and that somehow you're not good enough. That's the whole point of it. That's advertising. When I went to school for advertising, they said, you know, like, yeah, like it's by design to make people feel like they need the product by any means necessary. So a lot of stuff, if the culture is to tell you that, you know, this is before internet, to tell you that you're not good enough and you need the thing, and if you buy it, then your life will get better. Now if you watch this video, it's like the news, watch this video and your life will get better, or watch this video if your life sucks, at least you're not this person. At least you're not in the cringe compilation. You would never shit in a diaper, candy bar mascot, or the guy that greets you at Pizza Hut or whatever. People are masturbating to SpongeBob SquarePants. It's not even, what the hell is that? A sink sponge? And where does SpongeBob SquarePants live? He lives in Bikini Bottom. And the longitude and latitude of Bikini Bottom, as it showed up in the cartoon, is exactly the longitude and latitude of Little St. James Island. And Snopes didn't disprove that one. And you should never go to Snopes, because that's bullshit and lies. If you want to find out if something's true, go to Snopes. And if Snopes says it's not true, then you know that you can believe that it is true. This is the world we have to navigate. Now to have AI-generated stuff. They didn't even need AI-generated stuff to wag the dog. They were showing fireworks display in Kentucky and telling you that it was Fallujah. Or Israel or Palestine, whatever it was. They've been doing this shit for years. They're just blowing out video so that it's poor resolution, and they tell you, look at where they blew up over in Syria or whatever. It's lies. You know, UFO videos, all that stuff. The world, you know, like the world is kind of weird, but I think, you know, like everybody talking about Nephilim stuff too much. Like when Tucker Carlson's talking about Nephilim, you can forget about it. Stop talking about him. That guy's no good. Alex Jones is the bozo. You don't want to believe those guys are full. There's guys that are revelators. They're disclosing to you the stuff that they want you to think about. They're influencers. You gotta listen to him. They told us not to listen to him. You have to pray. Like, God's the only one that can help you. You need his grace and his mercy to show you how to love it all. We're having our hearts hardened by watching cringe compilations and dehumanizing people. We're hating women watching their TikToks where they humiliate themselves and say awful cringe stuff, and they have sour grapes and a broken heart, so they're telling men too, and telling you like, we can't trust men, and then they make an idiot out of themselves. And then you see a compilation, you're like, look how crazy women are. But if you found the compilations of men doing the male equivalent of the same thing, you'd realize that we're all, and nobody's getting laid. We're jacking it at home to people hotter than us. And even if we are hot, gay guys taught women how to put on makeup, and now women are prettier than ever, and nobody can meet up with anybody because they have impossible standards. You know, like, you could take an average girl and marry her, and when she puts on makeup, she can be way prettier. Again, because gay guys and trannies want to create the illusion of being a woman, so they figured out how to perfect makeup. And who could do better makeup than a woman? A gay man, because it's a man. So, I mean, like, really though, honestly, women are prettier than ever because they know how to put makeup on and do the contours. It's an illusion against God. He didn't like makeup. He said, don't wear makeup. I want you guys to fall in love with each other, so I'm not adding to what God said, but I'm kind of explaining it. I'm unpacking it. He said, I don't like eye makeup. That's what the fallen angels are given. That's deceptive. But you know, now you could have like an average chick, and if she knows how to put her makeup on, she just got way more prettier for you. Whenever you have a special occasion, you want to rail her, yeah, put the makeup on. You look good. You're going out or whatever. And nobody's hooking up, and everybody's going to the gym, and everybody's getting in better not everybody, but a lot of people are focused on getting in shape. Women know how to put on makeup, and they're pointing their ass at you and presenting. When I was on dating websites, nobody was they're literally here, look at my ass. They're pointing their ass at you. Women are getting dangerous surgeries called BBL, butt lift or whatever, so that you will look at their ass. That's just like animal primate survival kingdom stuff, and we're not primates. Here's my ass, here's my, people are getting their ass bleached so you can see their, so you can play with it. That's men and women. It's not necessary. I've seen a couple of women, I don't want to hang out there, and in my day they had hair on them. Courtesy trim, that's what I know from. I know about the shaved, all that stuff. I know about that too. And the older I get, the younger I dated. I'm like, oh, that's what that, okay. That's a new one. Everything's all smooth. I guess that's for me. But, I remember when I'm like, wow, that has hair on it. It's God intended, I suppose. And women had hairy armpits. I don't want to see hairy armpits. I saw hairy legs in the winter. You have a girlfriend, she's going to have hairy legs in the winter because it's cold. Unless it's, shaving your legs all the time is a pain in the ass. When you get to know somebody well enough, she says, I just don't want to shave my legs for a little bit. And then you have those legs over your shoulders, and you're like, wow, women's legs can get really hairy. Probably the more you shave them, the hairier they get. Is that a truism, or is that just bullshit? Because I was told we keep shaving your legs all the time and the hair grows thicker. I don't know, all the shit women go through. Hey, I don't want to see a woman's leg with hair all over it, because I have. But if you care about somebody, they're gonna have hairy legs in the winter. And I'd rather have a girlfriend with hairy armpits if she wanted that than a girlfriend that got breast cancer and they took her tits away because of the deodorant was poisonous, and it went from antiperspirant or whatever went from her armpits into her breasts because the deodorant's poison or whatever. It's like I don't know if it still is, but it was the leading cause of breast cancer in women was deodorant. For your deodorant. And now everybody likes people. No, I want you to do Anton LaVey bitchcraft. You can be smelly. Guys are weird. They want to smell weird smells. They want a foot. You should be embarrassed by that, not put it in your movies. I'm looking at you, Taryn Fido. I don't know. Some people like that shit. My thing that was turned me on was if somebody was into me and I could see that they were like visibly turned on. You know what turns me on? Looking at a woman and knowing that she's turned on by me. Now they imitate that. Even at the strip club, they call it girlfriend experience. It's the illusion of love. We really are in the time of the rise of the sex bots. I had no idea how much was already available for purchase until I saw the Justin Wang video a couple years ago where he's like, look at all these sex bots. He's like, I can't even show you this stuff. So I looked it up myself. I did a Google image search of like love dolls. I used them for thumbnails too. And I was surprised at some of the disgusting stuff I saw. Now a love doll is like a human-sized plush filled with stuffing furry thing. Like they have plush love dolls where you can still have sex with them, but it's a giant stuffed animal that looks like a naked woman, or a naked woman with an animal head or demon horns. And it's like literally everybody thinks of a love doll and they think it's just like 200-pound silicone dead body made in China. No, now they have stuffed animals that look like a naked woman instead of a blow-up doll or whatever. Divide and conquer. It's not gonna go away from this channel. I'm gonna keep saying that the strategy is divide and conquer. Right from the first in the Garden of Eden, Adam was there, he obeyed, then Eve was there, and then she was deceived. That's divide and conquer. And maybe I'm not explaining that, it's overly simplistic, but yeah, I mean, we've been divided and conquered, and it's what do you want to watch? What do you want to watch? I'll find it for you. I'm your algorithm. You stay over here. I maybe want to get into a new thing. Maybe you need a new kink or whatever. It's out there. Maybe you want to go to the air hose to fill your tires and stick that thing up your ass, and then you're gonna die if you would do that for real. But if it's a fantasy of yours, you can go to DeviantArt, or you can AI generate somebody erotically inflating like a Warner Brothers Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies character. To beat off to. I don't know. Maybe you want to have sex with a praying mantis. One of the things that saw me that was depressing in the compilations was there was a pretty woman, and she was implying through her TikTok that she honestly wanted to be railed by a velociraptor, which is a thing. And I was like, wow, if you saw this girl and she liked you, you'd date her. And now that you know that she wants to get railed by a dinosaur, you probably would still date her, which is messed up. She's a nice girl, she's really down to earth, except there's this one thing about her. What? I could never satisfy her because I'm a man. She wants to get railed by a dinosaur. Or she wishes that I could painfully transform into an airplane and fuck her. Like a literal airplane. Or like the car from Cars with a car cock. Hi, I'm Ace McQueen. I'm here to service you. Oh, I love when you pretend to be a car. Whatever. And what's coming, if it hasn't happened already, is that this next generation of celebrities is just going to openly, hi, I'm a gamer, and they're, the gamers are already admitting they do fursuits and stuff, right? But the day the Hollywood star is over, but whoever's famous they're just going to admit that they're down to nasty shit. And I realize I'm out of touch because they're already doing that, right? Who's a famous person that of young people, and they're just, hi, I'm the Insane Clown Posse and my daughter's a furry. I saw that one. Yikes. I'm gonna go. This went on too long. This is a long episode, huh? So anyway, we got programmed. So if you keep that in mind, just think like, yeah, this is too much. Like, you're gonna do something about everything. Think about something that's troubling you or stressing you out, and well, one, take it to God, and then two, ask yourself this, which you can do anywhere, anytime. I just heard an alarming thing. Can you do anything about it? And if the answer is no, let it go. You know, prepping can be a mental illness. I would say it probably is. You know, like it's, you know, do what you can, I suppose, to be prepared for, I don't know what, something. For them taking everything away from us and starving, I guess. But, you know, preppers is mental illness too. When it goes too far. I mean, like, you were told in life to be, you know, to prepare, you know, to, I don't know what the hell, I'm done. I'm just going to stop now, yeah. They did that to us. And I don't even know who you are. But it was, whatever they did, it's something. So what's the antidote for all that? Take it to God. Proverbs. Wisdom of Sirach. Old Testament, New Testament. Realize that the law is a static and old dead thing, and Jesus is like, I don't want you to be so focused on that. You know, and obey the commandments still. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love God above all else, first and foremost. Because if you don't do that, then He can't teach you how to love you, how you're supposed to love properly. Learning how to love comes through, I would say, grace and mercy, by learning about God and then coming to love Him. And then as He changes or melts your heart, He gives you a new heart. And it unfolds, then you'll be able to properly love. Not to say that people don't love without finding Jesus. I said that earlier. But it will help anybody. I mean, you have a direct line and access to the Creator, the Maker of all things. It's the most advanced technology that we're ever going to have available to us. So maybe you should tell God you're sorry. And ask Him for shit. And He will help you. And pray to Him. I don't know, my neighbor is a jerk. How do I love my neighbor as myself? I don't even like my girlfriend. She's pretty, right? She likes me. Maybe she's not pretty. Well, she'll have me. I have a girlfriend. Everybody's separated, right? Nobody's staying together. Everybody has impossible standards. I can't believe she lets me climb on top of her. Thank you, Jesus. Should I marry her? So anyway, you're supposed to ask God for help and thank Him for, you know, find something good in your life. There's got to be something. And then say, thanks, God, at least I got this. And then, you know, maybe you watch a cringe compilation and say, well, at least I know I'm not that guy. I'm not that far gone. And I never will be, because that guy's has a fetish for lawnmowers, running over pool toys. That's so specific. That's what it takes to get his rocks off? I don't know. And sometimes Christians are just too mean and too judgmental. And that's not the kind of person, that's not a representative example of how God wants us to be. So the advice for life in summation would be, if you're stressed out, bummed out, and it's too much, say, what would Jesus do? Probably He would turn off the phone and the internet. And, you know, sometimes it's nice just to sit. It's hard for me to do too. There's always something to do, right? And our lives are busy and full. And then when you did everything, you're tired. And, you know, what a luxury, what a good thing that I have time to sit down like an hour or two, you know, sometimes when I make a longer video, that I can do that and talk to you about stuff on my free channel where I don't have a t-shirt and I never made a dime. And it's a lot of people's hobby is making content. And, you know, you can tell them about God. I like it. There's a lot of stuff that I don't say, stuff I say on my channel that I don't bring up to people in my daily life, in my interactions IRL, because they don't want to hear it, because they're stressed out and bummed out already, and if they want to talk about that stuff, they bring it to me. But I remember years ago when I had a friend who was really sharp, and he would say, this is going to happen, they're going to do this, and he was predicting the future, and he was right, because he had read books on globalization. So when he would say stuff, it would be alarming to me. I'm like, it's probably true. So I didn't want to hang out with him anymore. So from the example of him being right, and two, giving people stuff that they didn't ask for before they were ready, I didn't want to hang around him anymore. So I didn't want to be like him. He was the guy that showed me, he gave me the template of like, okay, I know a lot of stuff, so I'll just make my videos, and whoever wants to watch it, I guess it will be in your algorithm where you found my channel. But in my day-to-day life, I don't go around scaring people or sending it to each other. That's another reason I quit Facebook all those many years ago. It's because people kept sending me stuff and getting pissed off that how come you didn't comment on my thing? Well, I didn't see it. I'm barely on Facebook. Well, yeah, I want you to check it. Or you try and rope you into stuff or send you bullshit alarming things you don't need. So I knew how before I was desensitized to the world and it didn't scare me anymore. I used to get scared about a lot of stuff in the early 2000s that, you go online and like, I don't know if I should know this. And then, after time you realize, yeah, okay, everything's horrible, and I have to find a way to go on living anyway because there's nothing I can do about it. So I also don't need to be afraid of it. If we're all melting, it'll be over soon. If you look at the window and everything is melting, don't worry, it'll get to your house. And then it'll be over, no more tears. So, establish a relationship with God. Nobody knows you better than that, and He's the one that knows all the disgusting stuff that you'd probably never tell your most perfect soulmate spouse, right? Because they might leave you if you told them. And I'm joking because I'm not supposing that you did horrible, awful things. I haven't. I'm pretty vanilla. I don't have any like my deepest dark secrets. My deepest dark secrets are like hurting people's feelings that they know about, where I told them I'm sorry. It's not really a secret. Maybe you don't know it, but somebody else does. I told them. But a lot of people, have stuff that you would never tell anybody else, like me. You take it to God to ask for His forgiveness, or you just tell Him because maybe it's not a sin, but it's just something you want to bring to Him that you wouldn't dare bring to anybody else. And the three answers from God are yes, no, or wait. And then you have to be able to discern those for yourself. So maybe you would pray for discernment. I would say in prayer, a thing to ask for is that His will be done. But also pray for wisdom. Because if you pray for wisdom, it was the thing that Solomon did that God liked, because a lot of things fit under the umbrella. Like if you pray for wisdom, and Jesus is God's wisdom, right? Go to ask wisdom for wisdom. So, if you want wisdom, pray for it, because God's the person to ask. Say, please, Lord, I pray for wisdom, because then maybe all the other shit in my life would shake out better than it is now, because all our lives have static and things. It's not how we want it to be. So, I have to get out of here. I have to stop. This video is going to be too long. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you like this lo-fi chill jam. I blame the phone. Not Japan, really. They got programmed. I don't hate the people. Any of the people I talked about. Maybe I said unfavorable things. I don't hate the people. I hate the programs. So, I just wanted to talk about it. And, point. It's like stuff I don't get to say to other people because they don't want to hear it, or it would stress them out. I make videos about it. I'm like, well, maybe somebody wants to hear this. How narcissistic of me. And I started my channel, Extreme Narcissism TV, because it was named after somebody else. There's actually a couple of things. I had a breakup, and in the email, I did get broken up with the email one time, but I got an email from an ex, and she was like venting, and she said something narcissistic, and all the stuff she said about me, I was like, oh wow, that's her. Like, she wasn't talking about me, she was talking about her. But then I didn't know that right away. I had to look up what the word narcissism meant, and I was like, oh, okay. Now it's an epidemic. Now there's so much narcissism out there. But those two things led me to calling the channel Extreme Narcissism. 3 things rather led me to calling the channel Extreme Narcissism TV. 1, I didn't know what the word meant, and 2, it was an email, and I was like, oh, she's a narcissist. And the third thing is that everybody making videos thinking that you should tell people what you think about anything. You know, that's what a stand-up comedian did. They told you what they thought about the world through stand-up. You know, unless you're going into politics, in which I don't even know if that's... I'm just going to be done now, okay? Can I just be done now? So thank you for hanging out with me. I don't know if you can tell I'm tired. I feel like I just keep sinking. We got programmed. It's okay. Call your father. Amen. One more thing. This is what I wanted to end on, and I didn't do it. So, in real life, people don't want to hear, and I wouldn't bring it up anyway, some of the things that I say here. They didn't ask for it. I can see how it troubles people. Everybody's stressed out enough. But when I make a video here and you watch it, you're asking for it. So it's all good, right? Because you're like, no, you know, you're open to the things that I say if you're subscribed or whatever. And if you found your way to my channel on accident, I don't know how you did that. How am I in your algorithm? I thought I was in the realm of the shadow band. I'm not in anybody's algorithm. They're trying to get my algorithm. I won't give it to them. So anyway, you watch my video. I thank you for it. And you know, I'm basically saying, like, in my small little open mic here, I am making these for you, because in my regular life, other people don't want to see that. They don't want to hear this shit. But here, it's all good, even when it's bad news. And I try to keep it light because I like to have a sense of humor, because we need one. So that's it. So anyway, you know, plan daddy issue, call your father, which means pray to God.